So if you drive through the Oxcroft Estate, you'll see many different properties, all different shapes and sizes. One of them is the Half Acre Farm, and they're about to embark on their new flower growing season. I'm very glad to say that the owners of Half Acre Farm join me now, Tom and Sarah, and little Reuben as well. So, and I should say that little Reuben's got a t-shirt saying it says, "Let's get to work." And if that isn't the motto for what we can see around us, I'm not sure what is. Tell us all about what we can see around you, and tell us about Half Acre Farm. How did it come about?
So it started out really with as an allotment, and from basically filling in our allotment to the brim and then needing to expand. So we knew about the Oxcroft Estate and what it had stood for in the past as a land settlement, as small holdings. And when an opportunity came up to buy a house here, we sold our house in Clown and moved here and gave us allotment up to somebody else to enjoy. So because we've got plenty of space to expand here.
And quite quickly got to work, and it's predominantly flowers, and we can see the tulips, and we're going to have a closer look at them shortly. But it's flowers that you sell, is that right?
Yeah, well, we do seasonal flowers. So our main season is April from now until sort of October time. As soon as the first frost comes, that kills everything off. And then we do a little bit of Christmas wreath making at the elm tree down the lane in the winter time.
There are predominantly different flowers in different areas that are all growing at different paces. How do you stay on top of all of that?
An Excel spreadsheet, lots of Excel spreadsheets.
What kind of customers do you get, and where do they get involved?
We get a lot of customers through Facebook and Instagram now as well, which is a bit unusual. And we've got a few local florists that buy from us as well. So we'd like to branch more out into getting some of the local florists using British flowers instead of the imported ones.
And we should talk about that as well. I know we spoke off camera about sustainability, but that's something that you pride yourselves on here at the farm. And why is that important to you?
I mean, it's the environmental impact, and maybe slightly refocused by having a little one to consider now. But the staggering amount of air miles from food and from flowers in particular is, flowers are obviously kind of as a luxury item. You wouldn't need them to survive. But if you're getting flowers that are flying from South America, South Africa, it's a staggering amount of air miles. When we grow so much in the UK, and we have quite a good season really. Even when we get further around towards winter, we've done some dried flowers and things to add to wreaths. I say another local business, the Elm Tree, have kind of loan us their function room, and we'll do wreath making courses and things there. So again, not travelled miles, or be made out of plastic, which is obviously another issue. And people also get to make them. We'd obviously make some up to sell pre-done, so it tends to work out well all round.
How excited are you to look into 2021 and hopefully have a really nice bright summer ahead?
Well, we were going to do the pick your own last year, and the first lockdown came in right at the point when the tulips started flowering this time last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much a year ago.
So we're hoping that on the 12th we can open up pick your own this year.
And if that happens, people get in touch via social media, as you mentioned?
We're doing bookings in 1 hour slots so we can do the social distancing. And that's on Eventbrite, and there's a link on our Facebook page. So that will be popular. So if you want to go in it, you best book in soon.
So we were pushing our luck a little bit with Reuben. He's had enough. That's fair enough. I totally understand. It's beautiful weather and he's got lunch waiting inside. So why wouldn't you go back inside? Thankfully, we've still got Sarah and Tom who are going to take us on a little tour. So I'll let you take us away and show us what you're growing, basically. Plenty going on. There's plenty of organisation.
Nothing planted in here at the moment. This will be the annual flowers. So everything that can go out after the frost's done. So sort of mid-May, end of May.
And I'm going to ask you really naive, obvious questions throughout this. Every box has a place, every box has a different flower, is that right? Or
every box currently on my Excel spreadsheet has something designated for it, but obviously some crops fail and some we grow more of, so we just mix it up. We've got certain flowers that we definitely grow every year because people just want those flowers. So we've got a ranunculus and we've got anemones, and they're all in the shade because they're actually cool flowers. Yes. So everything's grown outside and on windowsills in the house.
And we'll come on to this with the other plants around the area, but there is a method to all this. There's a reason, as you just mentioned, that's closer to the shade than the sunlight. And
yeah. You just get taller flowers. So there's certain varieties, if you grow them in the sun, like the tulips, if it's a really, really hot spring, they'll be quite short. They need a slow growing season, and then you'll get the really long stems. So that's why we stagger stuff, some in the shade, some in the sun.
You've also laid out your colour-coded ones to make them easier to pick as well. I think you should own up to that
Yeah.
level of detail.
Yeah, absolutely. Revel in your own knowledge here,
I
yeah.
have planned them so that they flower in different colours. So I haven't got to go randomly picking flowers. Try and get more efficient at what we're doing. Because the first few years we just bought random mixes of everything, and this time we're going for professional. We do sell some strawberries, sort of June time. So that's what we were going to do originally. But the flowers are so popular that we've just concentrating on the flowers.
Well, I was going to ask with the hens and the eggs and stuff, so there's a bit of produce there, is that right? Or
It's just as and when we've got extras, we'll pop them out on the farm stand just at the front of the house. So
Yeah.
if you're passing and you fancy some eggs, just stop by. There's always eggs on the stand. So we've got perennials, daffodils. This year we've planted some iris, which is just popping up here. And we've got gladioli. Everyone likes gladioli. It reminds them of the grandparents. And we've got some.
I'm just going to pull you back, Sarah, because we've walked past the tulips, and if we're here, I'm going to have a look at them.
Yeah.
So these are the ones that are coming up and ready.
These are the early tulips.
Yeah.
So these were supposed to flower before the rest. So we've got early single tulips, and we've got doubles, which were really popular last year. So we've planted 10,000.
Wow.
So there's 10,000 bulbs in here.
Well, let's not skip past that number. So 10,000. How long does that take to plant? Where do you even begin with 10,000 bulbs?
So we did this in half a day because it was in between the two lockdowns. We got the grandparents for half a day to look after Reuben. So me and Tom and little Gilgrath, was it Ewan? One of the neighbours' little boys helped us. And you have to put all the bulbs facing the right way up. So we chucked them all in, and then we had to write them all by hand, 10,000 bulbs.
Half Acre Farm is about accurate for the name, for the space we've got. You've got to get quite a lot in order to warrant, the actual outlay of all the bulbs in order to have enough to sell. So it's fairly well thought out, but we have certainly got enough. 10,000 sounds like a lot, but when you're hopefully supplying a few local florists and stuff on the farm stand with pre-done stuff and orders via Facebook and the like, hopefully, we've not got too many or too few. We've got a sensible amount, and we've got room to expand, maybe more boxes in the coming year. So there is a larger plan.
If we can flip you to the back and take us round the back, if that's possible. So these are plants that are coming up this summer.
These are the perennial beds. These three.
Yeah.
So these are flower varieties that come back every year. So we tend to just leave them and don't touch them.
Right.
I do a bit of weeding, but everything else, it just comes up every year.
Oh, really?
You just got to feed them and water them.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then obviously the daffodils come back every year.
Yeah.
But we will, once these die back down, we'll cover them with some soil, and we will put fast-growing annuals on top.
Right.
So it's all about maximising our space.
Okay, so we've got the daffodils.
Yep, daffodils. We've got alliums and iris this year, which we haven't grown before.
Wow.
So we're hoping that they'll do really well. We've just done a few of each just to see.
And where does your knowledge come from? If you've not grown them before, why this year? Why are you doing them now?
From the University of YouTube and lots of reading.
Nice.
Yep. And my granddad was a gardener, so I think that's where I get it from originally.
I was going to say, to spend this time and to build up what you've built up, there has to be an enjoyment factor somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
There has to be a passion.
So when it's really cold and windy, it's always windy here, then it feels like a job, but when it's like this, it doesn't feel like a job.
Yeah, this is the weather to do it in, definitely. Yeah.
Could be like this just one day a week. I'd be quite happy.
So these are
the gladioli. These will come out sort of mid to the end of summer, but we've also sown wildflower seeds on top. So we're trying to again maximise what we can grow.
And also, I just want to flag up, I'm sure the camera can pick it up, these brilliantly little black, almost chalkboards that just signify the level. I can't get over the level of organisation that is brought to this
This is
farm.
kind of like
They're also made out of scrap, though, aren't they? All of these pegs are the leftover bits from some wood that someone gave us to burn on bonfire night the year before, and all the little bits I kept them painted and dipped them in chalkboard paint. So you're right, they are chalkboard paint, and then you can write on with a chalkboard pen and just paint over them.
We're hoping to have visitors this year, because this year we joined Flowers from the Farm, which is a national sort of organisation to promote British flowers. And once a year they do an open garden day. So we're trying to sort of label everything so that if people do want to come and look at the farm, they'll know what the flowers are. Plus, Tom's not so great on the flower names, so it helps. If I say, "Oh, go and water the whatever," he can just look at the tags now.
Again, no, it's all planning, isn't it? It's all organisation.
It's the point where there's going to be a map that I'm going to be given and say, what are these ones? I think, to be honest, it's getting to that point.
But I was going to say, for all of your organisation and for all your planning, you're quite the handyman.
I'm responsible for, the physical side of the plans. I get told I need these raised beds, or I need, some pegs making and things. And that's the fun bit. I don't mind the rotating bit. But talk about air miles and reusing stuff. The raised boxes at the moment that you can see with the blue hoops on in the middle with the tulips in, they're all from, which was in effect rubbish. They were from recycled fence panels and fence gates from a housing estate that were mismeasured and were being thrown away.
The next bed looks very interesting. Talk me through why there are numerous holes cut out.
This year we're experimenting with growing through plastic, so we don't have to weed as much and we don't have to use any weed killers. So whilst it is plastic and we don't like plastic, it will last us sort of 5 years. If we could sell weeds, we'd be millionaires.
Yeah, but that's where Reuben comes in, isn't it?
Yeah, Reuben can pull those out. That can be his job. I'll get him a pair of gloves when he gets a bit bigger. Yeah, this weed fabric is obviously plastic based, but it saves us having to buy any kind of pesticides or anything like that. We don't like that. Bad for bees, bad for everything. So if we can avoid that by using something like this, we're using it about 4 or 5 of them, we'll be able to keep that down and keep everything under control. Okay,
so we're on to roses, which I feel like is a plant that I finally know. So talk us through this.
So roses, we do have a few roses in the perennials bed, but we really want to try and target local brides. So brides want roses. So we've put in roses this year, and hopefully within a couple of years we'll start getting a crop of those. It takes a few years for them to get established. We might get a few this year, but we're thinking for the longer term plan. We've also put in some shrubs just down at the end, and they'll take a few years to grow.
And that's the thing with this kind of work, isn't it? You don't just, or I suppose you can in some plants, but a lot of it is time that you have to look ahead. And
we should have planted these the first year and the shrubs the first year, but it's all learning curve. So.
Absolutely.
These are kale. So these are a vegetable. These are perennial kales. These are indestructible. So if you're a really bad vegetable grower, get some of these because they just survive. And we do take cuttings from these and sell those as well from the farm stand. So this is the only bed of vegetables.
And is that kale at the back as well?
Yeah, they're different types. So there's Taunton Dean, Daubenton's and Panache.
Wow.
So there's only 3 kinds. Lupins, we put lupins in this year.
Okay.
So
what kind of plants will they become?
They're really, really tall. So like about 1.5 meters tall. They look a bit like peas, but in a spike.
Because a lot of it isn't being grown by other people, say more commercially, or because it's grown abroad, they don't have that connection to it. They don't recognise it as something that they might have seen in the Nan and Grandad's garden, for example. So yeah, we're trying to keep them British because that's what they would have grown, because that's what grows in Britain. But at the same time, it has a little bit of a nostalgic effect. People remember it, or having seen it, even if they don't know the name of it, they recognise what it looks like. And we've grown a lot of them. So hopefully people like them because we've got a lot of them.
Amazing. Well, I mean that is a detailed tour of Half Acre Farm. It's right that I leave the final message with you. I know we mentioned about what's coming up in 2021, but for now, at the end of March, when we're doing this filming, looking ahead, what's your message to potential customers if they are interested in what you do here?
Just contact us, get in touch. We're always happy to give people a little tour if they want to have a walk around, and especially brides, because they might be thinking for the weddings next year. They could come and have a look anytime this year to see what's available. So it's a good way of planning your flowers for next year.
As main thing from all of that is to try and sell people support whichever local business. If it's not flowers you like, if it's someone doing something else, support a local business wherever possible. Rather than either say factory in air miles, plastic, etc., or some large corporation that probably won't mind the £5 being spent with them or not. But so a lot of people who do run their own business part-time or full-time, it makes quite a big difference. So I think that would be something we'd like to suggest or encourage. But yeah, and if you want to buy flowers, buy them from us. It would be great.
Absolutely. And with all this hard work, it's Why would you go anywhere else? Half Acre Farm on the Oxcroft Estate